Human beings have been trying to build structures that will last forever. It's their contribution to future generations. And concrete became the perfect medium because it's an enduring material. It deteriorates very little over time. Like all great things, concrete has evolved. What was once a utilitarian structural element has grown into a versatile, elevated, complex, and sustainable building material that continues to push the boundaries of conventional engineering and architecture. Today's concrete harnesses the power of science at the microstructure and nanostructure level to deliver even more durability with a lower carbon footprint and higher strengths, allowing designers to reach taller, get thinner, and propel construction schedules forward with some truly spectacular results. Concrete BC salutes its members who continue to evolve along with the product they supply. From humble beginnings and early generations, you are the women and men across British Columbia who design, batch, dispatch, deliver, test, pump, place, form, and live the complexities and triumphs of supplying one of the most sophisticated construction markets in North America. As we roll into the final quarter of one of the most trying and uncharted years in recent memory, we want to say thank you to our Concrete BC members, partners, and friends for your support of the association and each other. You've communicated and adopted COVID-19 safety practices and protocols, adapted to new ways of working, learning, and meeting, shared lessons learned, engaged, and provided relevant feedback. Thanks for bringing your A game, as well as your humor, because that's exactly how we'll all get through this pandemic. Together, connected, and with a little levity. After all, the name concrete comes from the Latin concretus, which means to grow together. Ever since the pharaohs in Egypt, human beings have been trying to build structures that will last forever. It's their contribution to future generations. And concrete became the perfect medium because it's an enduring material. It deteriorates very little over time. Like all great things, concrete has evolved. What was once a utilitarian structural element has grown into a versatile, elevated, complex, and sustainable building material that continues to push the boundaries of conventional engineering and architecture. Today's concrete harnesses the power of science at the microstructure and nanostructure level to deliver even more durability with a lower carbon footprint and higher strengths, allowing designers to reach taller, get thinner, and propel construction schedules forward with some truly spectacular results. Concrete BC salutes its members who continue to evolve along with the product they supply. From humble beginnings and early generations, you are the women and men across British Columbia who design, batch, dispatch, deliver, test, pump, place, form, and live the complexities and triumphs of supplying one of the most sophisticated construction markets in North America. As we roll into the final quarter of one of the most trying and uncharted years in recent memory, we want to say thank you to our Concrete BC members, partners, and friends for your support of the association and each other. You've communicated and adopted COVID-19 safety practices and protocols, adapted to new ways of working, learning, and meeting, shared lessons learned, engaged, and provided relevant feedback. Thanks for bringing your A game, as well as your humor, because that's exactly how we'll all get through this pandemic. Together, connected, and with a little levity. After all, the name concrete comes from the Latin concretus, which means to grow together. Ever since the pharaohs in Egypt, human beings have been trying to build structures that will last forever. It's their contribution to future generations. And concrete became the perfect medium because it's an enduring material. It deteriorates very little over time. Like all great things, concrete has evolved. What was once a utilitarian structural element has grown into a versatile, elevated, complex, and sustainable building material that continues to push the boundaries of conventional engineering and architecture. Today's concrete harnesses the power of science at the microstructure and nanostructure level to deliver even more durability with a lower carbon footprint and higher strengths, allowing designers to reach taller, get thinner, and propel construction schedules forward with some truly spectacular results. Concrete BC salutes its members who continue to evolve along with the product they supply. From humble beginnings and early generations, you are the women and men across British Columbia who design, batch, dispatch, deliver, test, pump, place, form, and live the complexities and triumphs of supplying one of the most sophisticated construction markets in North America. As we roll into the final quarter of one of the most trying and uncharted years in recent memory, we want to say thank you to our Concrete BC members, partners, and friends for your support of the association and each other. You've communicated and adopted COVID-19 safety practices and protocols, adapted to new ways of working, learning, and meeting, shared lessons learned, engaged, and provided relevant feedback. Thanks for bringing your A game, as well as your humor, because that's exactly how we'll all get through this pandemic. Together, connected, and with a little levity. After all, the name concrete comes from the Latin concretus, which means to grow together. Ever since the pharaohs in Egypt, human beings have been trying to build structures that will last forever. It's their contribution to future generations. And concrete became the perfect medium because it's an enduring material. It deteriorates very little over time. Like all great things, concrete has evolved. What was once a utilitarian structural element has grown into a versatile, elevated, complex, and sustainable building material that continues to push the boundaries of conventional engineering and architecture. Today's concrete harnesses the power of science at the microstructure and nanostructure level to deliver even more durability with a lower carbon footprint and higher strengths, allowing designers to reach taller, get thinner, and propel construction schedules forward with some truly spectacular results. Concrete BC salutes its members who continue to evolve along with the product they supply. From humble beginnings and early generations, you are the women and men across British Columbia who design, batch, dispatch, deliver, test, pump, place, form, and live the complexities and triumphs of supplying one of the most sophisticated construction markets in North America. As we roll into the final quarter of one of the most trying and uncharted years in recent memory, we want to say thank you to our Concrete BC members, partners, and friends for your support of the association and each other. Good morning and welcome to the 2020 AGM. I'm so glad you could join us today. We have a very full schedule, so I'm going to do a quick orientation on how things are going to work today. All right, before we get started, I'll run through a few technical considerations. If you have any issues, you can email Sherry at gogolfevents.com or call the number on your screen. Please note our live stream is being recorded. All voting members in good standing received an AGM package, the agenda, proxy form, minutes of the last AGM, financial statements, and a nomination report by email in mid-September. This package included the resolutions that will be voted on today. Please note there is only one vote per organization. Our quorum is 25% of duly enrolled active and associate members in good standing of the association, including directors and officers. We have 105 voting members in good standing, so therefore 27 members constitutes a quorum. If you have questions, enter them in the comments section as we go. We'll get to all the questions or we'll follow up with you directly. We will be using poll questions for voting purposes. When there is an opportunity to vote for a motion, you will be asked to vote in favor or opposed. Click the poll link and vote. To make a motion or second a motion, please use the comment function and type "I move" or "I second." Easy enough, right? Okay, so we're pleased to have 132 attendees pre-registered, which included 81 voting members. And we have met our quorum with over 52 voting members online. So great. Let's kick things off with our first registration draw with Road King GPS. One lucky person is going to win a gift card of their choice valued at $200 from our member Road King GPS. Thank you, Harry and Jose. Hey, that's great. Congratulations, Kelly Nix from Inland Concrete in Fort St. John. Now, I'm pleased to introduce our chairman of the board, Rob Slarks.
On behalf of your board of directors, welcome to Concrete BC's 58th AGM. I am pleased to be hosting our first online AGM along with Racy, Sidhu, Joe Whipple, and Carolyn Campbell. Firstly, I thank you, Concrete BC members, for your support during these crazy times. This past year has been a year that has provided many firsts. The pandemic has changed how we conduct our businesses in various ways. I believe that we as suppliers should feel fortunate that our government deemed construction to be an essential service and that we've been able to carry on doing what we do best, and that's deliver concrete. I know that many of you, as I do, look forward to our annual convention, to meet up with old friends and share a good time. My hope is that next year we will be able to reconnect for the best ever 59th annual Concrete BC AGM and convention in Sun Peaks. However, today's world means that we are doing more online. The 58th annual brings benefits to all. More members can attend without the challenges of travel from the far reaches of the province, without a large time commitment and the ease of accessing voting, participating anywhere there is internet. We are pleased that 100 plus members and guests are attending without a large impact on their budget and time. Connect online with others. Take this time to say hello, to comment, connect, discuss, respond, reply. We bring the resources of the online world to our annual AGM. Have a conversation, meet up with old and new friends. Use this opportunity to connect. Today, each of our committee chairs will be giving updates. They will be live in studio for any questions. Enter any questions into the comment sections as you listen to the presentations. We will address your questions live. If we aren't able to get to all your questions, we will follow up in the comment section until all questions are answered. To close our AGM, Ken Peacock, Chief Economist with BC Business Council, is our featured speaker. As my term as chairman ends, I thank you, the members, and our board for all your support. A special thank you to Carolyn for what she does for the association. Thank you to the Board of Directors for their hard work and the time required and committed to oversee the strategic direction and management of our association. I believe the association is in excellent hands with incoming chairman Racy Sidhu and this board. I call this meeting to order. Carolyn, please review the Competition Act.
As participants in this meeting, we must be mindful of the constraints of the Competition Act. There shall be no discussion of agreements or actions that may restrain competition. This prohibition includes the exchange of information concerning individual company prices, costs, margins, sales, and operating plans, rates, market practices, claim settlement practices, or any other competitive aspect of a company's operation. Each participant is obligated to speak up immediately for the purposes of preventing any discussion falling outside these bounds. Well, good morning, Rob, and welcome to the studio.
Morning, Carolyn. It's great to be here. So why don't we get this show on the road? And just a reminder to everybody that only Concrete BC voting members may move or second a motion. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? I have Rod Johnson and a second, please. And John Anderson. Thanks very much, John. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Can I have a motion to approve the 2019 minutes, please? Wendy Davidoff, thank you, Wendy. And a second, please. Jeff Adams, thank you very much. All in favor? Do we have any opposed? Okay, great. Motion carried then. So let's start off with Joe Whipple, our treasurer, and his report.
Thank you for allowing me once again the privilege to serve on the Concrete BC board as your treasurer. This year was unlike any other and gave us some unique challenges as an association, both operationally and fiscally. The COVID-19 virus has had an impact on how we work, live, and play. Concrete BC was certainly no exception. Your board took immediate action, and so we managed to continue to move forward with our objectives while closely managing financial impacts both on the revenue and expense side of the income statement. Concrete BC runs lean on a good day, but this pandemic forced us to make some difficult decisions and work differently in the final quarter of this fiscal year. On March 25th of this year, the board voted unanimously to relieve the final quarter dues. This amounted to a revenue reduction of $74,000, which was money directly back in the pockets of our members. In and around that time, we also made the difficult decision to reduce our administrative expenses by reducing staffing levels. We moved quickly to working and collaborating remotely to continue to further your interests while reducing costs and maintaining COVID-19 protocols. It was necessary to cancel events this year, as isolating and social distancing became the norm. We canceled our well-attended golf tournament, which had a negative impact of $8,000. In addition, our in-person educational offerings were ceased, coming with a negative impact of $7,500. Although the board moved quickly to operate in the new normal, traction was hindered some. This ended up leaving us with resources unallocated and has left us well positioned to continue to fund our initiatives going forward. To review year over year provides us with significant amount of dirty data due to COVID. However, reviewing profitability year over year still is a key indicator that aligns apples to apples. This year, we see revenue down sharply, primarily due to the COVID relief measure, which amounted to $74,000, and the prior year's completion of the pump project, which amounted to $51,000. Expenses this year were down $40,000. If we take a closer look, the reduction was largely due to the pump project expense piece being eliminated, which was $36,000 reduction. However, we also see admin expenses in total were flat, but included an additional $28,000 in consultants' fees. It is a decision made by this board to strategically utilize consultants to propel our committees and gain ground much quicker. Later, as our committees provide their updates, you will see these results. This year, we had a reduction of 2 active members, 5 associate members, and 2 affiliate members. We added 1 associate member and 1 affiliate member. As we review our non-dues revenue, we quickly see the impact provided by the convention at Spirit Ridge last October. Convention participation and likewise revenues have risen sharply in the past few years. It is by far the largest single non-dues revenue generator for our association. Unfortunately, the next year's, this convention, will not have the same impact. As we turn now and observe the profitability of our non-dues revenue generators, we see that both the convention and educational offerings have the largest impact to the bottom line. The challenge going forward for the board will be to leverage both of these to increase the positive impact. This was a year like no other. The events of 2020 were not anticipated, but were responded to decisively by your board. We still remain in good financial health with a positive future outlook for dues and non-dues revenues. We will continue to be mindful of expenses and react as necessary to continue to be good stewards for the association. While being mindful, rest assured, we are well positioned to fund all our committees and their needs in the upcoming fiscal year. We plan to ensure the association weathers this storm and plan for a balanced budget for the upcoming year.
Welcome, Joe.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Rob. Good morning, Carolyn. Good to be here.
Okay.
Good job.
Does anybody have any questions for Joe about the report?
Nice.
Nope. No questions at all?
Hang
Oh,
on.
we got a question there. So from Sherry, are there planned uses for the promotional fund for 2020, 2021 at this time? So that's a good question. So the promotional fund currently sits at a little over $12,000. We utilized quite a bit last year. We utilized approximately 19,600 roughly. Most of that expenditure was through our advocacy group, which Eric will speak to, I'm sure, a little bit later, through the Northwest Cement Council sponsorships, and also the UBCM, so the Union of BC Municipalities, both a sponsorship and an advertisement piece. So we're sitting with about 12,300. We're going to see what Eric's group and the advocacy group has in store for us next year. I don't have all those answers, I think, and I'm hoping that they're answered by Eric's group as we move forward. Is there any other questions?
Okay.
Okay, so getting on with business, we have a couple of motions that we're hopefully going to carry here, as is usual. First, I'm going to need a motion to approve the financial statements for this current fiscal year. And I've got Matt. Thank you, Matt. And a second? Brent, thank you very much. All in favor? And opposed? We're carried. Finally, may I have a motion to approve KPMG as the auditors for the 2020-2021 fiscal year? Thank you, Chris. And a second? Thank you, Richard. All in favor? And opposed? We're carried. Very good. Back to you, Rob.
We have 2 directors leaving the board this year. I would like to personally recognize and thank Wendy Davidoff and Rod Johnson for their service on the board. Their presence and passion will be greatly missed at our meetings. And now here is our Vice Chair, Racy Sidhu, to present the nomination report.
Concrete BC's bylaw 6A states that the affairs of the Society shall be managed by the board of not less than 11 directors and not more than 19 directors made of a simple majority of ready-mix concrete producers on the day of election. The following 10 directors were elected in 2019 and have 1 year remaining on their term. This leaves 9 available seats, 3 of which can only be filled by a ready-mix producer. In August, the current Concrete BC Board of Directors passed a motion to suspend nominations from the floor for this year only. The following names appeared on the 2020 election ballot. Voting members were provided a link to register their vote online for the candidates. I'm pleased to announce the following directors have been elected to a 2-year term on the Concrete BC Board of Directors. Congratulations, and I look forward to working with the new board.
Thanks, Racy, and welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all the new and returning directors. I look forward to working with you as well. Any questions for Rob or Racy? Okay. I think it's time for another draw. And this one is sponsored by London McNeilis. Thank you, Matt and Ryan. This one is for everyone who is online with us today. And look at that. Joe Whipple. Congratulations.
Wow, thanks.
Is that allowed?
I don't think so, but I'll take it.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Carolyn. Congratulations, Joe. And thanks to all of you that have joined us today. Wow, we're already a quarter way through our AGM. I hope everyone has had a chance to settle in. Let's turn it over to our subcommittees who have worked tirelessly over the past year. First off, we have Eric Anderson, who chairs the Advocacy Subcommittee.
Thanks, Racy. Hey, everyone. Here's an update on the Advocacy Subcommittee's work for 2020. As a reminder, this team's work focuses on our main goal, as always, advocating for concrete in the building system and to collaborate with our partners on concrete producers' role in the local economy. Another goal for 2020 was to share our grassroots program in our communities through Concrete BC-led meetings in targeted communities. So, our goal was to actively set up and lead 5 meetings. This subcommittee team would directly support members in the key areas of Kamloops, Maple Ridge, Delta, Richmond, and also with the BC firefighters. Unfortunately, COVID has put a damper on some of our direct actions that are best suited for in-person communication. So we will continue to push for these meetings this year. We have, however, had some great success in political outreach with some unplanned results. We've completed 2 great meetings with Federal Minister McKenna and also BC Parliamentary Secretary Ravi Khan. COVID has brought about some interesting times in the concrete industry. We have seen our roles deemed essential to support communities and infrastructure. We have also seen wood, yet again, get some valuable press time in the building system. However, despite these difficult times, we sent out various outreach letters to targeted political groups, increasing our voice in the political realm. A win for us was some communication sent directly to the Prime Minister. Early in the pandemic, the Concrete BC team wrote a letter to the Prime Minister with regards to the support of concrete in the times of COVID. We received a rapid response from Federal Minister McKenna and her staff. We held a 1-hour video meeting on July the 2nd to discuss some projects and opportunities, also some future options to work with the federal and provincial team on project design. Our key messages during the meeting were that concrete has been deemed an essential service. How do we then actively participate in shovel-ready projects and also support government infrastructure priorities? Some actions out of this meeting were we are working for a seat at the table in the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Bank program. This is a big win as we can then be closer to how these funds are spent. We will also be working with the Minister's staff on specifying needs with regards to green infrastructure solutions. We want them to be aware of what concrete is available today from industry, from our concrete members, versus being told material specifications after the fact. Another win for us was with regards to mass timber in the building system. On June 16th, the BC government announced in a press release to expand its use and support of mass timber in BC buildings. This was certainly disappointing to many of us, yet a direction the government has been going for some time. Shortly after this announcement, we wanted to work with other concrete materials producers to co-write a letter to John Horgan and the Parliamentary Secretary, Ravi Khan, tasked with running this program. We felt that a group approach would be more powerful than a variety of letters as we've seen in the past, often with different goals. BC, Canadian Precast Prestressed Concrete Institute, Canadian Concrete Masonry Producers Association, and the British Columbia Stone and Sand and Gravel Association. We developed and submitted a letter requesting communication from this group. Ravi and his team reached out, and we had a video meeting with our collective association team on August 13th to review this announcement and also opportunities we may have to participate in this work. Our key messages were: we represent the collective groups from the concrete materials industry, from aggregates all the way to cement, and we are concerned about the singular approach to building materials. We would like to better understand the goals of Ravi's team and how we can participate in this initiative and possibly develop a broader scope in the future of Clean BC project criteria. So some of the actions were: we are now working directly with Ravi's team to explore opportunities to participate in these projects in a positive manner, to show that concrete is needed even in wood projects. We will be working with the Clean BC team to educate and advise on the use of concrete in the building system. And finally, this will be a new beginning for a larger push of representation of the concrete materials sector. Overall, it was made quite clear, though, that these initiatives, both Mass Timber and Clean BC, are in early stages with a lot of time to influence the outcome of these projects and ensure concrete gets its right place in the building system. A few other ideas we have been exploring are the Concrete Wins program to continue to leverage our lobbying power with other associations. The Concrete Wins program has been shared by the Cement Association of Canada team with Concrete BC to see if a BC version has some merit. This program was spearheaded by the Cement Association of Canada out of Eastern Canada and has developed some great unified actions for concrete and concrete-related industries. The goal is simple: to push for a more common voice so concrete wins in the building system. We are certainly stronger in numbers this way. We are still in the early stages of looking at this program and hope to do a working session with other associations in the near future and see if we do in fact have some common themes, and I'm sure we will. In fact, we have already begun some common outreach, as noted on the topic of mass timber. To me, we are well on the way to developing a BC Association synergy plan. This means we as associations can work together on some common items and better use our resources and ties to the political community for wins. Not unlike the strategy seen in the wood industry. This will help us to have a stronger voice as a concrete construction industry and better scope out all the jobs and material spend that our industry has to offer. Wood has done a good job of lobbying for its space in the building system. It is now our time to tell the larger story of how critical concrete is in the greater economy. I hope you are all safe and well and had a great summer.
Thanks, Eric. That was absolutely tremendous work. And we're looking to you to lead the charge in moving the concrete agenda forward this year. And welcome to the studio.
Welcome and good morning. Thanks for having me.
Are there any questions for Eric?
Okay, I see a few questions here. Again, ones that we can't answer right now, we will do at the end of the meeting. Is your committee going to help in getting local meetings set up with politicians? Absolutely. As I said in my message there, we have targeted areas of Kelowna, Delta, Maple Ridge, etc., that we are working on. Those are some starts, but certainly reach out to us for some other areas of focus, and we can help you navigate in setting up meetings and helping to run them as well. Another question we have, what infrastructure projects is Concrete BC targeting? Well, you know, we've been chasing the Massey Tunnel Resurrection project for quite some time. So that's a concrete forward project we would love to see come to the table. Another one, Expo Line SkyTrain, you know, is another concrete forward project that we would love to see. So we've targeted a bunch of them throughout the communities. We can certainly update with a little bit more towards the end of the meeting, but definitely trying to support our members and getting these concrete wins for us.
Well, those were all excellent questions. Please continue to post them in the comments area, and we'll try our very best to answer them in the time allocated at the end of the AGM.
Okay, great. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Racy. Next up, we have Mark Hilton and the Training and Education Report.
Good morning. My name is Mark Hilton, and I'm the current chair of the Training and Education Committee. One of Concrete BC's goals is to be a portal for qualified educational offerings. The focus of the Training and Education Committee is to provide producers and members of our industry the training elements that can elevate the skills of their staff and help increase the industry's overall performance. I wanted to give you an update on some of the highlighted activities that the committee has been working on since last year's annual general meeting. In October of 2019, we launched the Certified Delivery Professional Online Driver Training Course, also known as CDP. Some of you may have seen the flyer that we sent out in the early summer to bring attention to this great course. The course is a 5-module course designed to help drivers better understand ready-mix trucks, product knowledge, and the concrete industry, as well as helping these students understand how to safely operate this large vehicle. The course is self-directed, so students can take at their own pace, and each module has topic-specific exam to ensure the student is understanding the content. In December 2019, we offered the Dispatch Training Course in Vancouver. Jim Wagner, formerly of Command Alcon, facilitated this very popular course again over at the VRCA offices. Students were entertained by Jim's stories, as well as the background detail of the technical advancements in dispatching over the years. We had 38 attendees take this course this time around. One of our most popular courses continues to be Concrete 101. This Basics of Concrete course has long been popular with the field and office staff, whether they are new to the industry or needing a refresher as they change roles. 12 attended the class we put on in January of 2020. The Concrete Pump Operator Safety Training course continues to be a popular workshop. We had 13 operators take the course in January, and many pump operators use it as a prep to writing their certification exam through the BCCSA. Keep tuning into our webpage to see when the next workshop is available. All course offering information can be found on our webpage at concretebc.ca. In 2019, our committee took on the exercise of identifying all potential courses that are currently offered to the concrete industry. We looked at in-person courses, online courses, other associations, the American Concrete Institution, ACI, and school institutions. We compiled a list of the courses we found, and while we can't offer all of these, we did provide a link to them so you can see what is available and investigate further what you see as valuable to yourself or some of your staff members. Please check out our Concrete BC webpage at concretebc.ca. Click on the Training and Education link and then on Additional Recognized Education to learn more about what is available. In early July, our committee was able to hold its first in-person meeting in some time. With the 6 of us all properly socially distanced, the team spent the afternoon strategizing and brainstorming ideas on how we add further value to our member partners through education. Through great discussion, we came up with the idea that we need to offer opportunities through learning so our industry members can grow and stay an employee for life in our great industry. Our thinking led us to the idea to build a career path training program to help individuals, or even external people to the concrete industry looking to get in, acquire the skills unique to our industry required for their next job up in their career progression. For example, someone starting fresh in our industry usually gets introduced by working in the yard. But over time, that individual may have the ambition to become the leader of the yard or maybe move into an operations role. Following the proper course path, the individual can at their own pace gain the knowledge and be ready and more comfortable to step forward when a larger role or opportunity presents itself. We know that it will take a lot of effort to get this idea fully realized. We see it as a 12 to 18 month timeline until you may see our first offering, but we are very excited and motivated to be able to offer this to our members. Stay tuned. More exciting information on that to come soon. So, this is what the committee has been up to. If you would like more information on any of our courses, you can always check out the Training and Education tab on our website, or you can email Concrete BC's Executive Director, Carolyn Campbell, at ccampbell@concretebc.ca. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the annual general meeting.
Welcome, Mark. That was a great report.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So do we have any questions for Mark?
I do see we have one there. How many drivers have been through this CDP course program? Good question. It was a new offering for us this year, so we were happy to see that we had 22 people that have been through the program so far. Hopefully we continue with that number and can add many more, but good success so far and good feedback on that. Any other questions? Is the certification of drivers remaining with the driver, or does the certification stay with the company? Good question again. The certification is fully the drivers to take with wherever they go. So they've passed it, they've certified, and they get to hold on to that. So definitely it stays with the individual and does not stay with the company there.
Question from Wendy. Can any member volunteer for the committee? You can put your hand up to the committee for sure. We're always looking for extra help, extra ideas. As we said in my spiel, we haven't had the chance to meet together face to face all that often, but we're always open to getting ideas, and feel free to email Carolyn or one of the board members if you have some suggestions or you want to participate.
Good question. Thank you.
Great questions. Thanks, Mark. I've seen firsthand your dedication and passion you brought to the Education Committee. Thank you. Good questions. But now it's time to move on to Racy, who's going to give us a report for workforce development.
Thank you, Joe. The Workforce Development Committee has been busy this year. We surveyed the members regarding driver retention early this year and received a bigger response in 2019, 54%. We had a broader geographic response. Last year, the response was polarized from the respondents primarily from Vancouver Island and the Okanagan. A point we want to improve on this year is only half of the producer members responded. I would personally request that if you did not respond, please do so in the upcoming year. The survey is built by the association for the association, and it drives a lot of our initiatives. Some of the highlights are: the average age is 47.5 years, and driver tenure is 9 years. This is an increase of 1 and 2 years respectively. 27 drivers moved to other positions, which means we're willing to move our drivers and there is a career path available. We had a 52% net gain. 240 drivers hired and 116 drivers moved on to other jobs. An interesting point that came out of the survey was that we had 103 open positions at the end of the year. If we extrapolate that out to 50% that did not respond, it would mean that we had over 200 vacant driver positions throughout BC. What is the biggest issue in filling these vacancies? 70% producers say finding experienced drivers is the biggest factor to hiring. What this tells us: we need a recruiting pool to draw from that has experience and qualifications. We need better career path planning, assistance with driving and training standards. The full access to survey results can be found at this hyperlink. What can Concrete BC do to help? Concrete BC has been working on the Concrete Delivery Professional course. It's online, which means it's available to all of our members today. The course has been redesigned to provide students with necessary raw skills prior to employment, essentially a pre-qualification for our industry. Fully endorsed, Concrete BC heard from the membership and answered the call. The BC Truckers Association is bringing forward as an option to their drivers and pushing this course to driving schools around the province to offer it. Provincial driving schools are willing to offer this course to their students to better their employment opportunities in the ready-mix industry. We have been working with a recruiting consultant in the Lower Mainland who is working to build a resource pool of drivers. He wants to extend this resource pool to the different geographic circles throughout BC. He strongly believes that recruits will pay up to $1,000 for this course to get into the recruiting pool. This would mean that producers don't need to pay for them. This is a huge win-win. We have better qualified candidates, faster and more effective hiring, a concrete industry standard, and new hires that are vested in our industry. I believe the following testimonial says it all. We added Concrete BC CDP course to our new employee orientation in 2019. The content is custom made to our industry and the course provides real value. It was so well received that we decided to offer the program to all of our drivers. By the end of 2020, all drivers employed by Trio ReadyMix will be certified concrete delivery professionals. Please contact Concrete BC for course information and registration. Thank you.
Good job, Racy.
Excellent work, Racy. It's time for questions. Are there any questions for Racy?
Don't see any. Well, I will be online at the end of the AGM to answer any questions. If you do come up with them, please post them, and I will be sure to answer them.
Okay, thanks, Racy. We seem to be on a roll here. So why don't we go next to our 2020 Safety Awards. And Carolyn, do you want to take it from there?
Concrete BC was pleased to relaunch our new safety awards for 2020. Thanks to everyone who submitted entries. The first category is the Performance Award for 0 to 49,999 hours. Congratulations to Mako Mixed Nanaimo. The second category is the Performance Award for 50,000 to 99,999 hours. Congratulations to Terrace Construction Limited. There were no applications for the third category for over 100,000 hours. Each of the winning recipients will receive a plaque and a $250 cash award towards an employee appreciation event. The following plants did not have a lost time accident during the period from January 1st to December 31st, 2019, and will each be receiving a certificate of recognition. The last performance award is for the best cumulative performance over 5 years, from January 1st, 2015 to January 31st, 2019, with no lost time accidents. Congratulations, Mako Mixed Nanaimo. This year we didn't receive any submissions that met the criteria for the Chairman's Award. However, we wanted to acknowledge the effort that was made by one submitter to share knowledge and an innovative solution to a safety challenge for the betterment of the industry. Let me introduce our sponsor, Jeff Adams from FuelEX Energy, to explain.
Safety is an important aspect to all of our businesses. At FuelEX, we believe that all accidents can be prevented, and safety is an integral part of everyone's job. That's why we wanted to reward the effort made by this member to share their learning on improved safety around slump racks, a common area of safety incidents for producers. By removing this hazard, in this case the elevated work platforms, they were able to redesign a slump area to be focused on safety without sacrificing production. I'm pleased to award $400 in SO FuelEX gas cards to Philip Rhymes at RMC Ready Mix Limited in Surrey, British Columbia. You'll all be able to read about this safety innovation in this month's Concrete BC newsletter. Congratulations, Philip. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the AGM.
Thanks, Jeff and FuelEX. And thank you to all the companies who submitted this year. If you want to get recognition for your company's safety record next year, be sure to enter our 2021 Safety Awards. Coming up shortly, Ken Peacock from the BC Business Council will provide an economic outlook for our province, sponsored by Crichton Canada. But first, on behalf of the board and the membership of Concrete BC, I'd like to thank Rob Slarks for his time, diligence, and leadership throughout these last 2 years as chairman, the last of which has been one of the most challenging on record. Rob, you kept your cool, stayed focused on not only your day job, but your role at the helm of Concrete BC as well. On behalf of all of us, I'm pleased to present you with this gift in appreciation of all you've done for the association. And now I'll hand things back to you, Rob, for your final duties as chairman of the board.
Okay, thanks, Carolyn and Jeff. That was a great job. Is there any new business out there? Okay, well, there's none at this time, so we're going to move on. So firstly, I'd like to thank our sponsors. With your support, we were able to bring this AGM online and bring you a better product and quality product, one that aligns with Concrete BC and our members. Thank you to our attendees. Your support of our association and our members is appreciated. And thanks again. So the official business of the AGM is concluded. And that doesn't mean that we're just ending here. We have our keynote speaker coming up and another draw for a $200 gift card and more time for questions and answers and comments. So can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Matt Kidd, do I have a second? Todd Hansen, thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carried. I now declare the 2020 AGM adjourned. So just remember, we're going to go on with our key speakers. So Carolyn?
Okay, well, up next, John Anderson from Crichton Canada to introduce our keynote speaker.
Hi, I'm John Anderson from Crichton, Canada. We are proud sponsors of Concrete BC's 2020 AGM. I have the privilege of introducing our featured speaker, Ken Peacock. Ken is Chief Economist and Vice President at the Business Council of British Columbia, a business advocacy association representing BC's 250 largest companies. These companies together account for over 1/4 of all jobs in the province. In this capacity, Ken contributes to the Council's work on economic and policy issues of interest to the business community. Ken was born and raised in BC and has attained his master's degree in economics from Simon Fraser University. Ken is past president of the Association of Professional Economists of BC and a member of the BC's Economic Forecast Council. Ken's topic today is Business Council's Q3 BC Economic Review and Outlook.
There we go. So like I said, about 15 minutes, fairly intensive in terms of graphs and graphics. And I'm going to start up at the global level, first of all. First, I'm going to touch upon what we see at the global level, because obviously that impacts the provincial economy. BC is a trade-dependent, open, export-oriented economy. So what happens in the rest of the world is relevant, of course. Then I'm going to move into what we see happening in the labor market and touch upon BC's labor market dynamics, largely because we have good information on that, and it's the most sort of current up-to-date data that we have, and a picture of the recovery process, if we look at the employment data, is starting to emerge. Then I will get into some of the more other economic indicators, and then conclude with something about construction, the concrete sector, and what we expect for your industry and sector generally. But just to begin here at the global level, the thing to note is right up at the top: world economic growth, GDP growth, expected to contract by 4.5% in 2020. This is a large decline. Much more significant than the Great Recession or the global financial crisis back in 2008 and 2009. These forecasts are coming from the OECD, their most recent projections. You can see that in 2021, the organization is calling for a fairly sizable rebound to global economic output. Most of that will have to do with the emerging economies rather than the advanced economies, that stronger rebound in 2021. And as you can see lower down in the chart, not so much the case with the US. The OECD expects the US to mount a fairly significant rebound. But when we get into Canada, almost a 6% downturn in 2020, and then just a 4% recovery expected in 2021. The Euro area expected to take an 8%, nearly 8% contraction in 2020. That economy in the Euro area is going to struggle. It's going to be weak, and they are not going to sort of come anywhere close to regaining their lost output in 2021 with just a 5% expansion forecast for that region. Just jumping down to China, 1.8% growth. Not too long ago, just a few months ago, most forecasters were expecting the Chinese economy to contract in 2020. So this speaks to a bit of an improvement. These forecasters see some strengthening in China, some improvements. They've got past most of the coronavirus related shutdowns, and they reopened, and the Chinese economy by most accounts is starting to recover quite robustly. Japan, on the other hand, quite a different story. Big contraction in 2020 expected, and then not much of a recovery in 2021. Now, just with that sort of general background, essentially the takeaway message is the global economic backdrop is going to remain soft. I don't have a slide on interest rates, but the other kind of general backdrop thing to keep in mind is we are in a low interest rate environment. In advanced economies or right around the world, you're seeing interest rates drop to rock bottom levels. Same thing here in Canada. And we'll get into it a bit more in a moment, but the low interest rate environment, of course, is providing some stimulus and a little bit of lift to the housing sector. So we'll touch upon that in a moment. Just jumping right in, just starting with this. This is a picture of the total number of people working in the province of BC. You can see in here a strong run up in jobs from sort of 2015 to 2019. Things were softening in advance of the outbreak of the virus and the pandemic being declared. But then, of course, when we run into the closures in mid-March for the consumers, many of the consumer-facing segments of the economy, employment tumbled, and you can see it really did fall quite precipitously. That is a loss of 400,000 jobs from February to a couple months later. And then we do see a significant rebound, but I would just draw your attention to the most recent reading, and that came in August. And what we saw was a gain of just 15,000 jobs in August. In normal circumstances, 15,000 jobs would be a healthy, strong gain, something that we would applaud and think that's good. But in these circumstances, when we've seen so many jobs shed and so many people laid off, that's a small gain, and it speaks to a slowing in the hiring process, which we expected to show up, and indeed it has already shown up in the August data. And I expect we're going to see similar, very moderate gains, maybe even some job losses in the remainder of the year. Just an interesting dynamic that has emerged in this shock and the downturn in the job market is the difference between the metro regions and the non-metro regions. So just quickly here, I've got Vancouver and then the three other large metro regions in British Columbia, Abbotsford, Victoria, Kelowna, and then up at the top here, that top line there is the rest of British Columbia, all the other jobs outside of these four metro regions. Of course, you can see Vancouver hard hit, the hardest hit by quite a significant amount. Employment falling by almost 20% at the low point, and it's down around 12% now. These other metro areas, the medium-sized, mid-sized metro areas in British Columbia, their employment figures from February are down about 6 to 7%, so quite a bit better than the Vancouver situation. But the really interesting part is if you jump up to the rest of BC, so you get out of the metro areas, talk about the smaller urban areas as well as the smaller cities, and the total number of jobs in that rest of British Columbia aggregate is actually fully recovered since February, and they never really fell that much. So this, not surprisingly, speaks to the different industrial structures between the urban areas and the metro areas. Of course, Vancouver, and I'm just about to get into it in the next slide here, has all of the industries or heavy concentrations of the industries that were hardest hit. So just to give you a flavor of the different impact across different industry segments in the provincial economy, what I've done here is I've just classified the different industries in BC in the provincial economy as either hard hit, moderately impacted, or limited impact. And not surprisingly, again, accommodation and food services hard hit, information, recreation, and cultural industries saw a big downturn in employment, and that's because this captures the large sporting venues as well as live concerts and other large audience attended events. It also captures film and television recording, which was closed but then reopened, so hard hit but then some recovery. And construction, interestingly, gets picked up in here. Even though construction remained open, employment did fall by about 17 or 18% at the low point, and it's still down by more than 10%. So it actually gets classified as one of the harder hit industries here in the province. You can see the moderately impacted ones here. Retail and wholesale only gets a moderate impact because much of the retail space did remain open during the COVID crisis. And then the limited impact ones are here. I just should note, I have benchmarked all these to 100. This line is a little bit out, but to 100 in February so that viewers can get a sense of where we are relative to February. And in the two instances of moderately and hard impacts, you can see employment levels are well below where they were. In the case of the limited impact, which includes professional, scientific, and technical services, as well as public administration type jobs, and then manufacturing and forestry and mining, employment is fully recovered and it never was really that hard hit. So a significant difference across industries. We are going to see job growth if we do some projections out into the future in the limited impact sector. But as I suggested or alluded to earlier, I think we are in for a slow grinding recovery process. And these two moderately impacted and hard hit segments, I don't see employment recovering in these areas until well past 2021. So that's going to be a drag on the economy, this slow recovery, job recovery process. Just quickly to give you a more further sense of why I think we're going to see kind of a more muted recovery process is if you look at the hiring or the rehiring that has taken place since February, we have seen some full-time jobs come back, and this is full-time employment over on that panel there, but part-time employment has fully recovered. The number of part-time jobs is back to where it was in February of this year. Now, I don't want to suggest that all the lost part-time jobs have been recovered and they're now fully back. That's not the case. Rather, I think what is going on here is some people who were full-time employees being laid off and they've been rehired on a part-time basis. So again, this just speaks to the tentative nature of the rehiring that has taken place. Companies a little bit reluctant to take people back on a full-time basis, scaling back on their staffing levels, and this is all in the name of trying to cut costs and manage costs and remain in business while demand and sales are weak, still recovering. Perhaps it's very different across industries, but this is the challenge that we face. I'm just going to wrap this little labor market segment up with a summary of what these numbers mean in terms of a forecast. Right here is the August small 15,000 job gain, and then after here, these are employment growth numbers. So if I roll up those industry projections to get a total employment number, even though we're going to see some growth in the non-hard hit or the non-impacted industries, it's not enough to get us back to where we were. So I think even by the end of 2021, we're still going to see the number of people working in the province still remain well below where it was in February of 2020. Stop, take a little bit of a breath. It's also always of interest, at least to me, to get a sense of where we stack up relative to other provinces. And this is just a quick measure. Again, from February to August of this year, the decline in percentage terms in the number of jobs in each province or region here in Canada. BC is a middling performer. Although we have had a very good performance in terms of containing and managing the virus, in terms of job losses, we're right in the middle of the pack. Alberta more hard hit than us, but Quebec and Saskatchewan and Manitoba have not seen employment fall to the same degree that we have here in British Columbia. The consumer, of course, is an interesting question in this recovery. And here is some good news, actually. Retail sales, not surprisingly, hard hit during the shutdown, but have now fully recovered. So consumers are back out spending. That is good news. But what has happened is there has been a rotation in where they're spending their money. So the segments that were closed down or impacted from people not commuting as much, such as gasoline stations and clothing stores similarly closed down, trying to find their way back into reopening, getting customers back into the stores. But clothing sales in June compared to June of the previous year were still down by more than 10%. Gas sales, same story. Motor vehicle sales did go into positive territory in June after a number of weak months related to the shutdown. But if we go over to this side, right from the early days of the COVID closures, sales at food and beverage stores, which of course remained open, have been strong. People were buying things to work on their home. Building material stores have also enjoyed growth. And electronics and appliance stores saw a big surge in sales when the crisis hit, when the lockdown came, because of course everybody was hunkering down at home, buying webcams, buying new laptops and whatnot. So retail sales back, but it is not the story or not the case that all retailers are enjoying a recovery in sales. The picture's quite mixed, and like I said, to use the word rotation again, there has been a shift in spending activity towards these other segments on the right-hand side of the panel. Now, just to get into some construction, I don't have much time left, so we'll have to hustle a little bit. But non-residential building permits, I put this up just to underscore that they were very elevated in early 2019. The total value of non-residential building permits in the province trended down throughout 2019 and into 2020. But even around here, this is an elevated level of construction activity or permit activity, leading to more construction activity, of course, in the non-residential space. And if I look around the Lower Mainland in particular, at some of the projects that are on the books and slated to come online in not too distant future, we can see a large number of substantial projects. The new St. Paul's Hospital, some SkyTrain, Surrey Langley expansion, the Broadway UBC line, and both of these are going to be getting underway. The Broadway UBC line is imminent. A number of projects related to the gateway infrastructure, these are ready to go. And I would just note, in British Columbia, in the 2008-2009 financial crisis, we fared very well in terms of being able to access federal money and federal dollars that were matching provincial dollars for infrastructure projects, because we had a large number of projects ready to go. They were on the books, they were planned. Same story applies today. The Port Metro has projects on the books. A number of other projects are ready to go. And so I do think that this is going to position us well to be able to capitalize on some federal funding and some provincial funding directed towards infrastructure projects and new construction. And this is clearly a plus for BC. There will be some other softening related to the downturn, of course, but I do think that the stimulus that we're going to see coming, some of it already been announced, but there will be more announcements from government, will more than offset some of the weakness related to projects in the private sector that are being postponed or delayed or built at a slower pace than otherwise would have been the case. In the residential segment, housing starts have jumped up quite nicely in recent months. We remain at elevated levels. Home building, I believe, is going to continue to be an area of strength for the provincial economy. And I did mention interest rates at the outset. I think these low interest rates are going to, first of all, they've improved affordability. The downward move with rates has made purchases of, yes, rather expensive homes in the Greater Vancouver area. Yes, they're expensive, but the lower interest rates makes it much more affordable. So we have seen a pickup in activity and sales, and we are seeing some response by builders. I also think we absolutely cannot ignore the affordable housing plan that the provincial government has in place. There's going to be new purpose-built rental housing units constructed here in British Columbia, and that is going to provide a lift to this residential construction space as well. Just quickly to exports, and then I'm going to do 2 or 3 minutes on your sector and then wrap it up. And like I said, we'll have some time for some questions. This is just exports. I flashed this up as backdrop to our kind of general economic context. When BC's export sector is struggling, as it is under the weight of this global downturn, that washes up on BC shores. It means fewer jobs, it means less income, it means fewer purchases, and this is going to be something that is going to weigh on BC's economy for the rest of this year and into the first part of 2021. I do expect the export sector to pick up somewhere around mid-2021. And that wraps it up for sort of these economic indicators per se. Just turning to construction costs. In Metro Vancouver, Statistics Canada has this construction building price index that they compile on a monthly basis. And they have a long series for the non-residential component and a shorter series for the residential segment. But you can see here big price pressures, upward price pressures in this building boom in the mid-2000s. Of course, much of this was related to the run-up to the Olympics. So upward price pressure here, I remember it well. Construction projects, people being very, very concerned about cost escalation. Some projects actually getting postponed because of the cost escalation during this period. With the recession, the big recession, the price index drops sharply, recovers, and we kind of see a normal period here. The index, cost index rising by 2 to 3 to 4% sort of year over year for quite some time. And then we get a jump as building activity in British Columbia picks up. But in 2019, with that slowdown in permits and perhaps some moderation in other sectors of construction, we did see price pressures for construction costs start to abate, and we see this same pattern in the residential segment. So right now, on a year-over-year basis, there's very little inflation. It looks to be around 2%, maybe just above, in the construction space. Product prices are a little bit different and somewhat more interesting, very cyclical here, as you can see. But what I've plotted here are some price indexes just to give you a sense of the different direction between wood products right now and cement products. So this index, there is an aggregate measure, the Industrial Product Price Index, which is the light blue line, and prices for industrial products overall are actually falling right now. Again, not surprising. They fell here during the recession. In this recession, we fully expect weakness in this aggregate product price index and to show up as it has. But the interesting thing here, lumber prices and wood prices have started to climb quite sharply. It's showing up in the price index here, but cement and other metallic mineral products, and this is the best measure I can get of cement. It does include gypsum and window products in this price index, but a little upward pressure, actually flat year-over-year price changes for that price index. So a bit of a difference between products there, perhaps a market opportunity, because as lumber prices rise, it has a big impact on construction costs, of course. So suddenly cement and cement products look more favorable for projects in terms of costs. Finally, I do have to get off here because I've been running up to close to 20 minutes. 2 more slides left for you. I just want to give you a flavor of just how much more quickly construction and even cement manufacturing has grown in the past relative to the provincial economy, and just kind of a sense of the economic engine that construction in the province of British Columbia is. So again, back to this boom period in the early 2000s, the bars are GDP growth for the total economy. So all economic activity in the province, typically growing around 2, 3, 4%. Year in, year out. Recession here, we're going to have a bigger recession in 2020, of course. But the dark blue line is cement and concrete product manufacturing. And the red, or the reddish brown line here, is expansion or GDP output, the increase in GDP in construction. So boom period here, output in cement and concrete products, not surprisingly, correlates strongly with it. Falls during the recession, quite closely correlated here. A little bit of a divergence here. I'm not sure if your sector is exporting more or what's going on here. Perhaps people in the audience have a good explanation. But I think that this kind of robust, stronger expansion in your segment and this upturn in construction here is going to continue into 2020, 2021, and 2022. So generally good, robust growth for your segment and construction as a whole. I do agree. I do note that some projects in this environment, uncertainty about the future, the global outlook, what is going to happen domestically, does mean some projects are going to get postponed. But I am confident that the amount of stimulus that is going to be directed towards infrastructure, other projects, this is going to be a wide range of infrastructure, will more than outweigh the softening in the private sector. Just quickly, forecast. This is a picture. You can get a sense here that the magnitude of the downturn we're expecting in 2020 is large, 3 times the size of the 2008-2009 recession. And if people remember back to this one a decade ago, it was quite a nasty recession, but BC did come out of it quite quickly. We are going to see a rebound, but keep in mind, these percent changes are not symmetrical. A downward percent change is bigger than an upward percent change. So for example, you're at 100, you get a 50% fall, you go down to 50. You get a 50% increase from 50, you only go back to 75. So this 4.5% increase doesn't even get us really halfway back to the, doesn't even recover half of our lost output. Just the numbers, big downturn, recovery in 2021 for the economy. The job numbers are interesting, a 7% contraction, and this is mostly baked in because we have employment numbers through August. So it's going to be close to 7% contraction, maybe a little bit less. fairly strong rebound, but as I said at the outset, the job numbers are not going to recover for some time. Unemployment still averaging 10% in 2020, down a little bit in 2021, but we are concerned about the potential damage from long-term unemployment, the scarring in the job market and whatnot. You can see the housing market numbers here. A good year in 2021 expected. Retail sales, strong rebound. This huge 8.3% increase, a lot of that is just a pure math effect. The big dip this year, or March, April, means that when we compare March and April of 2021 to March and April of 2020, the numbers are flattered or boosted by the fact 2020 was so weak. We don't expect much inflation. Don't worry about overall inflation. It's going to be a muted inflation environment in this post or in this COVID world. With that, I will wrap it up. Back to the moderator, and thank you.
Hi, Ken, and welcome to the studio. And thank you for your insight into what's coming up for BC.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be with you.
So do we have questions from the audience for Ken, please?
Yes, Doug Lum has a question. Carolyn, read that off.
You're going to have to read that for me. Sorry.
I can see it. And it's from Doug Lum. Any consideration to phase 2 and 3 of the COVID similar to what has happened in Quebec right now?
So are we referring to potential shutdowns? I'll answer it this way. To do any sort of economic forecast, you have to make some assumptions about how the path of this COVID and the infection rates and whatnot. And right from the outset, we have assumed that there's going to be a large second wave. Just reading all the literature on past pandemics, it's just the case. Actually, I read a paper just the other day that of the 7 previous pandemics going back over the past 150 years, 6 of them all had substantial second waves. So that's our operating framework, but we believe that we're going to in BC and probably across Canada, we'll be able to manage it better. We got systems in place, there's testing available now, masks, so we don't anticipate widespread shutdowns, but rather because of the ability to track and trace much better than the early days of this virus breaking out. We think at worst, if we do go to shutdown, they'll be much more targeted, maybe like we're already seeing, maybe bars late at night. So for our forecast, no, not widespread shutdowns, if that's the question that we're getting at there.
Okay. The next question is from John Anderson. His question is, federal and provincial debt is increasing due to COVID relief and stimulating spending. How will this impact us?
It's a great question. And we are starting, early days at the Business Council, when this pandemic first broke out, it was fair that governments were responding quickly and getting money into the hands of individuals who had lost their jobs just because the job losses were so massive. Money had to be delivered. Now, it's clear that it was probably a little bit too easy. I'm not sure if people in the audience know, but at the height of this downturn, we saw 400,000 jobs disappear. But there are 1.15 million people in BC who have collected the CERB. The total number of people in February working was about 2.4 million. So it's 45% is the proportion of the workforce that has collected or claimed the CERB in the province. So clearly these programs are easy to get. The money is massive. The debts and the deficits are large. The debt is climbing and the deficits are large. We do need to start talking about fiscal anchors because this cannot go on in perpetuity. I'll just make a quick comment about BC. In BC, we can take on more debt. Our fiscal setting is very sound. Our debt burden is low. It's one of the lowest among the provinces. So British Columbia has the ability to take on a substantial amount of more debt, to run deficits for several years, if not 5 or 6, and still be fiscally funded. Some of the other provinces I'm more concerned about. Look, I hate to say this, but in the future, when we get out of this, 2, 3, 4 years from now, whatever your recovery timeline might be, there's gonna be pressure for higher taxes in the future to pay off deficits and pay down the debt. And I'll
we
leave
have
it at
another
that.
question here from Sherry Lowen. Ken, how will the prolonged border closures affect the province?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's slowing down that short-term U.S. tourism, U.S. spending activity in Canada. There was a period there for several years where that was growing quite strongly. The Canadian dollar had weakened, and Americans were coming up for longer trips and also for shorter trips in large numbers. So we've essentially lost all that U.S. tourism dollar money for short trips and longer trips. Sure, you can fly into Canada, but you got to quarantine for 2 years or 2 weeks, not 2 years, thankfully. So they're just not coming. So it is absolutely hammering the tourism industry, which is a big part of the provincial economy. That's problematic. Just quickly, it's almost worse for Blaine and Bellingham. Bellingham is just devastated because they live on Canadians going down there to shop and money further down the way. The Tulalip outlet malls and stuff are a huge pain there. But the big hole from the border closure and international travel more generally is really what's going to weigh, and that's going to keep those hard-hit industries and hard-hit segments, tourism and related things, weak for quite some time.
Okay.
I have a question. Going back a couple of slides, you talked about the different materials, the wood industry, the pricing of the wood industry, and then the construction materials, and then you had cement and concrete. I was just wondering, why was the cement and concrete not following the booms of the wood? Are we missing out on something?
It's a good question. I would have to dig into it much more deeply to give you a good answer. Just initially, I would note the only index for those commodities that I could get was a Canada-wide measure. So the economies and the cycles and the construction cycles, from kind of watching over the years, they're not always consistent across provinces. And I put that last one up mostly just to kind of highlight the upward pressure in wood prices right now. I'm not sure entirely about the history, and I would be speculating and maybe giving you a misleading answer, but it is interesting. And I would probably guess that the BC circumstances at different points in history were quite different than the Canada-wide measure. So yeah, sorry to dodge a little bit.
My take may be that on the cement side, we have long-term contracts, and that takes out the ups and downs, and maybe we should relook at that, try to capitalize on some of those.
Interesting. Okay.
Upper points.
Hey, Ken, I have a question as well. I know we discussed this a little bit the other day, but a lot of us in the industry have been speculating at perhaps COVID hangover, if you will, lack of projects perhaps proceeding forward in 21, maybe lack of funding, confidence, those types of things. What are your thoughts on that? I know you had talked about a bit of the balancing of infrastructure spend, et cetera, but with what you see in the interim?
Yeah, the COVID hangover, I think, is going to be real. So just to give you a sense of our thinking, as we go into the fall here, we're pretty certain you're going to see the number of business failures rise, in part because a lot of businesses, again, not in construction, not in these industries that haven't been hard hit, that have weathered it well, but rather the ones that have been hard hit, more closures because they've been propped up by government money so far, and at some point that is going to have to end. And I was just actually talking to somebody at the CFIB, the Small Business Association, and they're right now fielding calls from small business owners who are paying employees on their credit cards, and they're just not making it. So I think that reality is going to kind of bubble up and show itself in the fall months and in the early parts of 2021. So that's going to kind of dampen the recovery process. That thinking kind of aligns with people are going to be concerned. We will postpone and delay some investments. So I do agree that I think you're hitting that on the private sector. You are going to see projects pushed back and delayed. Yes, it could also be an opportune time for some people. There is this innovation churn process that happens in recessions, but I'm with you. I think you're sensing that the private sector is going to scale back. Public sector spending is going to be substantial, though, and I'm sort of speculating largely at this point, but just this morning, Prime Minister Trudeau announced another $10 billion in infrastructure spending coming out. So we're going to continue to see these announcements flow. The big challenge for BC is being positioned to take advantage of that money. And I mentioned it in the presentation. We did very well in the last recession. We should do well again this time. The port's got lots of projects lined up. There's a lot of infrastructure, and we got a long list. Get on it. Press the government to put these things together and take advantage of that federal financing is what I say.
Ken, I had one for you. Obviously, the provincial government last week called for an election, and so we're going to go through that. And I think most people are probably on the same page that it's probably not the right time. But say you have that perfect storm of trying to recover from this, and if happens that the government changes over, what do you kind of foresee as an impact there to the return to normalcy, I guess, in BC?
I would say in our dealings with the provincial government in this, we released a report called Stronger Tomorrow starting today, which contained a large number of policy recommendations to help stimulate the provincial economy. Now, in fairness to the government, they released their plan to spend $1.5 billion a few weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago. I would just note $1.5 billion. It's a big amount of money to you and I, but in the context of the provincial economy and some of the other investments that are going on, it's not small. For example, LNG Canada has already tendered $3 billion worth of activity just to provincial suppliers and providers of services and products. So there's much bigger projects out there. But nevertheless, it's welcome. And they did pick up on a few of our recommendations in the report. A switch in government would take the policy environment in a different direction. And I just mentioned our interactions with this provincial government because our sense is they're a little bit tone deaf to the reality of how deep this is. I kind of get a sense that they're just waiting for the recovery to unfold and see what happens and kind of hoping that things will turn out all right. We're concerned about this long-term unemployment issue, and we have said very, very strongly, don't add additional costs. No additional costs, no additional complications. Do what you can to minimize that burden on businesses so as many as possible can survive. They're a bit tone deaf to that. I would imagine if we had to switch to government, they would be much less tone deaf to those concerns. The Liberals are more sensitive to costs, and they did come out with that big bang announcement that they would eliminate the PST for a full year and then half the PST for the second year. That's a lot of stimulus. But we kind of had a policy recommendation similar to that, not as bold and as aggressive. But if that came to pass, sure, we would take on a whole bunch more debt and the deficit would be big. But lots of stimulus from that policy. And I don't want to talk too long, but if somebody does want to ask, we can talk about the different dimensions and stimulus that would provide.
Okay. Do we have time for one more question? I think we probably can sneak this one in. It's from Tyler Thorson. The wage subsidy kept many on payroll through end of August. Do you predict a further downturn in employment now that the program has been wound up?
Yeah, exactly. This question aligns with the concern about business failures in the coming months, the coming 6 months. Yes. So yes, there will be a downturn in employment as some of these support measures are wound up and as more businesses go under. It's tough to know the overall trajectory though, because at that higher level, that construction is going to be good, forestry and mining, they're stable. The global backdrop's weak. We may see some job loss on it, but not dramatic. And that technology space really is vibrant and expanding right now. So we are going to see job growth in some areas. The question is, does the weakness in the other areas, those business failures, fully offset the other employment growth? It's difficult to say. That's kind of why I walk this line of slow, uneven, bumpy job recovery process, because the offset and the upside, maybe we kind of get a few thousand jobs 1 month, a loss of 1,000, a gain of 3,000 or 4,000, a loss of 1. That's what the next 5-6 months, maybe year is going to be like.
Okay, well, thanks, Ken. And any questions that we haven't got to, we'll follow up with later. But for now, let's go back to Carolyn.
Mute.
This one is from Euclid Chemical, and this is for everybody who participated today. So let's go to the Euclid Chemical Wheel of Color. And thanks for this. Congratulations. We'll be in touch to all of our winners after the show, and we'll get you your gift cards. Now, Joe Whipple has kindly asked us to redraw the London Machinery draw for everybody online. So let's get to that. Brent Snell, congratulations. Over in Alberta. Okay. We really appreciate all our members and attendees who made the time to register and vote and participate and connect and comment here today. Mac Trucks thanks us in our supports us in that. Thank you with a sponsorship and a $300 gift card if you complete our survey. So you've got a link in the live feed as well as in your inbox when you finish this. So tell us how we did today and you could win. That about concludes the official portion of our AGM. I want to thank you all for attending from all over the world. I saw, some different countries. One of our new members, Tech Will, is participating from Finland. So welcome. And I want to thank all the sponsors for their support. We will stay on after the live stream concludes and answers all kinds of questions. Make sure that if we didn't get to you, we'll follow up with you directly. But for now, I want to move to kind of what we traditionally do at the end of our AGM and convention when we're all live together. For the past couple of years, we've concluded the event with photos from our attendees. And this year, thanks to Jeff Adams and FuelEX, we've created a video of the photos that our members sent us. So everyone who sent us photos was entered in a draw. And the winner of the $100 FuelEX gift card is Al Park. Congratulations. Al's from EXL Engineering, so that's great. And Al, your card's on the way. And then FuelEX very generously added another $200 in gift cards for the best photo. And so we had 3 judges take a look through all the photos you sent in, and there are some great ones. And they unanimously chose this photo as the winning photo. So there it is, Hansen, surrounded by concrete, and he's in India. So he has had world travels, as you've probably seen in our newsletter. So congratulations, Sheena Sidhu, for entering that photo. And I'm pretty sure Racy might have had something to do with it. So hopefully she'll share her gas cards with you, Racy. Thank you all. We're going to leave you to enjoy the Concrete BC members, moments, and memories, and enjoy.
Hey, it's me again, Jeff from FuelEX. We're proud to sponsor the Concrete BC 2020 Members, Moments, and Memories video. Say that 3 times fast. Photos and images have been provided by Concrete BC members and friends. This montage showcases 2020, a look at our projects, our families, and our 2020 life stories. We have put this video together for you to keep the memories alive. Enjoy.
And that's a wrap. I want to give a shout out to all of you for being here, the hardworking executive and subcommittee chairs. Thank you, Ken Peacock. That was a great addition to our first virtual AGM. I want to say thank you to our production team, Go Golf Events Management. And that's a wrap. Stay safe. Please vote. We'll stay online.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Nice job, guys. That's one of the best AGMs I've seen.
Thank you.
I'm serious. It's really good, and the platform is excellent. It's very, very good. Well done. Very well done. Yeah, that's actually the best virtual AGM. I haven't seen too many, but that's the best virtual AGM I've seen.
We're grateful.
Thanks.
If the weak link was the economic update, everything else was awesome. The economic update was the weak link.
Not at all. It was just the icing on the cake for us. So, guys, we can stay online and answer some questions. But I think what we'll do is wrap it up and close it out, and we can stay in studio and maybe get to people.
Okay. I'm gonna sign off.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Unless you don't need me for anything, do you?
We're good.
Okay.